Welcome to the Infernal Brotherhood of Scruffy Looking Nerf Herders.
What's up?
This is, in fact, a YouTube video podcast about Star Wars.
This is a YouTube video podcast.
I am fucking reading my copy right now. I don't know why the fuck I have it written like that. This is a vidcast.
I probably did that.
It's much shorter that way. Anyways, moving on. It's time for HoloNetNews once again.
Yay!
Hey, HoloNetNews.
This is my
Let's talk about
favorite
shit that we can't enjoy yet.
In some cases, shit we've already enjoyed. Maybe
That
not
is
in this
true.
particular episode, but because these HoloNet News shows are traditionally speaking to Star Wars news that's already passed in the last month. Sometimes. But that is weird,
Whatever.
though, because...
That's a man. God damn it. Don't get all technical with me.
But the reality behind it is that everything's announced before it is actually released. And so most of the time, by the time the announcement comes out, we do our show and we're still waiting on whatever it is that needs to be released is going to be released. So it's still kind of ahead of the game.
That's true.
So whatever.
We're on the forefront of Star Wars news from a third side perspective in Utah. We're fucking
Everyone's
awesome.
like, what does that mean? Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're joining us.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So Jana's saying you're just being extremely proper today due to your proper brunch fair day.
Yeah, it was a proper fucking brunch.
All right.
Fucking proper, kid.
I mean, it'd be nice if, you had a friend that would maybe want to have brunch with you that would invite you to brunch. And maybe you could attend said brunch.
It was unexpected.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
it was.
I just wish I had a friend. Is all.
Wasn't planned. You know what? I believe someday you'll probably have a friend, Adam.
I think so.
You're
I mean,
nice,
I have a
you
dream.
You might have a friend one day.
All right, so we've got a lot to cover today. I don't know how exciting this show is going to be. I mean, I've chambered Star Wars rumors just in case the show kind of goes south to kind of pick it back up. So, we'll deal with that as it comes.
I mean, I'm excited for at least what we're talking about. At least, hopefully excited.
Okay, well, let's start there, and let's start with our first topic.
We're starting with me hacking up a lung. I'm still getting a little damn sick. But Star Wars TIE Fighter. It's going to be a limited run series, 5-part series, I believe. That's going to be tying in with another pick coming up, which is the Alphabet Squadron novel trilogy. So yeah,
this is weird because traditionally what used to happen in Legends was they would come out with a novel and then they would make a comic of the novel, right? Or
yeah, that's typically how it would be.
Did they ever do the opposite?
I'm not thinking of any right off the top of my head, but I mean, yeah, typically you would get like a run of novels, and then there would be like little side stories that you're like, I really wish I knew what happened with that, and then they would do like a 5-10 part series. But with this, it's essentially it's going to be leading up to that era. So this is post Return. This is after the Empire has already fallen, and it's an elite squadron, Shadow Squadron, I believe it is, going after the elite of the New Republic fighters. So basically, it's just a cock tease for the new trilogy coming up, which is going to be I'm assuming, very reminiscent of the X-Wing Fighters series. Wait,
you mean the new novel trilogy?
Yeah. I'm
Alphabet
sure it's
Squadron.
going to be very, loosely plagiarized off of the X-Wing series because it was so fun.
They've got to have they have to have tie-ins at least because they've done it so far with everything else. Like it's reminiscent of,
I'll throw a fucking fit if Gurg is not in there.
See, I never read the original like type or X-Wing series or anything, so
that's killer. That's fun. Fans 40 years worth of stuff. I definitely recommend.
I got to be honest, I'm not entirely sure I want to even read this. Like, it does not excite me at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty stoked. Like anything with like starfighters and shit, I'm all for it.
See, on the screen, I definitely am. Here's my problem with it: is if it's not an established character that's being featured in some way in the novelization series, I have a hard time connecting with it. I'm just a visual person. I've been able to overcome that in some rare cases But like ultimately, I need that emotional visual tie-in before I'm going to spend time, hours into reading something. With Star Wars specifically, like other stuff, it doesn't matter for whatever reason.
That's weird.
It is weird. It's really weird. I don't pretend to understand it, but
I guess it makes sense because it's coming from a movie. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the movies are ultimate canon, and so the novels, especially with the new canon novels, they're doing a bunch of, and we're gonna get into some here in just a second, where it's like, these are tales, these are legends and rumors of stories. So they're not actual canon stories of things that happened like we used to have. They're just like, hey, I just want to make some shit up in the Star Wars universe and have, entertain some fucking people that want to read it. I want some canon fucking material. I don't want like made up shit.
The way I see it, like let's go back to the tales of Luke Skywalker.
Exactly.
It's just religious shit, basically. Like it's parables with little bits of truth in them.
The flea saving Luke and friends.
Okay, I haven't fucking read that shit.
Oh, really?
I've only read a couple of the stories out of it because I just couldn't fucking do it.
Okay, well,
but
everything you have to say is bullshit then.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind. Well, I mean, okay, look at a certain point of view.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of exaggeration in there, a lot of perspective, like different perspectives in there, but it is all literally canonical stories.
But they're not. Like, the whole premise was that they were tall tales. So whether or not they had any foundation in anything that's considered canon was irrelevant because they were just being told. So it was like, because a tall tale of a boogeyman in the Star Wars universe is told doesn't mean the boogeyman in the Star Wars universe exists. It just means that the tale was told and the tale exists. And so that's the problem I have, because they had like really wonderful force-sensitive trash compactor monsters from the original Death Star that Luke and Han and Chewie saved Leia from, that Luke had intimate run-in with. That has no connection to anything, and whether or not they're actually force-sensitive beings, or maybe it was just one of the entire species that was force-sensitive that just happened to be trapped in the trash compactor of the Death Star.
All of them were force-sensitive, I believe.
It was
like,
just
that's
really
how they communicated.
strange. And then a flea literally communicated with Luke Skywalker in Jabba's palace when he was trying to evade the Rancor, and that's how he survived the Rancor, was the flea telling him what to do. And the flea telling him what to do on the Jabba sail barge scene in Return of the Jedi is what saved him.
I really need to read that book now.
You really do. I mean, some insane, crazy shit. And there is some good stuff in it. Like some stories with Luke going out and finding other force-sensitive species and learning their ways of understanding the Force, which was interesting. But because the entire thing was wrapped up under this pretext of these are just tall tales, so we're not bound by any of them, is just sort of the new Disney way of saying we don't want to commit to any single storyline. We want to be able to, duck and weave at any moment's notice. So, like, what does anything mean in that case? Like, that's what bothers me so much. I just want some solid foundation of understanding, because if you're going to remove the solid foundation of what Star Wars means to every fan for the past 40 years in a sweep of the arm in order for you to make more money by coming up with your own version of stories, at least give us a solid foundation in which to champion you. But if you're not even willing to do that, and everything is just sort of wishy-washy, up in the air, we're going to kind of move and duck and weave and bob, as we see fit, well, then as a fan, where the hell do I take you? Like, how can I take anything you do seriously if you're not even going to commit to anything at that point? I feel like I'm getting a little too emotional about this stupid fucking single story.
So that being said, Star Wars Myths and Fables comes out in August.
Sorry, people.
It's gonna be pretty awesome. Clearly, Adam's gonna buy it.
So the TIE Fighter limited run crossover comic is going to tie into Alphabet Squadron.
Yes.
What I've always been to kind of go back to the beginning. What I've always been bothered is that every class of starfighter has an alphabet reference, and so that's why they call it Alphabet Squadron. Which, like, come on, it's on the nose, it's cheesy, it's stupid, it's a bunch of, like, people with mixed backgrounds coming together for common cause to, search down remnants of the Empire and defeat them. So, okay, I get that. The foundation is solid. I just don't know if I want to invest my mind in new heroes of the rebellion if we're moving into the final movie of that storyline.
Well, the thing that I'm holding out hope for is, like, this is probably very likely going to be the beginning of the Resistance, because it is people from different squadrons coming together and basically making a mishmash squad to go take out the elite of the Imperial Remnant. Right. So that's honestly what I'm hoping for, and that, maybe there'll be some payoff in the final film of some of these people that are in Alphabet Squadron being in that movie.
That's a tall ask, man.
It is. Yeah, but fucking the Ghost was in Rogue One.
It did cameo, that's true. Yeah.
So,
but to be fair, Rogue One was single-digit years after or even, it was actually during the last season of Rebels. So that wasn't such a tall ask. This is presumably 30 years before the sequel trilogy, because this is right after Return of the Jedi.
Well, the timeline's kind of hazy, at least from what I understood. Like, I know it's in between Return and Awakens, but I'm not sure where. I would imagine more closer to the end of Return, just because they're going after the Imperial Remnant.
Yeah, exactly.
But, still, I don't know.
I'm listening to this, I was getting excited for a second. I was like, oh, what if Kaz is in this? And I was like, oh, wait, this is like way before he's involved.
He's not even born yet.
He's not even fucking... The best part of him ran down his mother's leg, as my dad would say to me for years, which is why I have a bad self-esteem.
Fair.
That is a fucked up thing to say to your son, right?
Well, it could be worse. You could have been born white.
It's true.
To an Indian dad.
I was wondering where you were going to end with that statement. I was like, but
I was the mailman's child.
All right, so moving past our fathers,
yes,
our disappointing fathers.
This one, I don't fucking care what you say. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, apparently we're going through the
Alphabet
books.
Squadron?
Yep, Alphabet Squadron.
You're looking forward to it. Okay.
Where are we at? Oh, I'm moving way ahead. All right.
I'm just wondering where you are.
Yeah, I fucking missed a part. So, Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
For those who don't know, this is going to be all a lead up and a tie-in to Star Wars' new park on Disney's lot. The place, or the planet Batu, I believe that's what they're calling it. Yep. But yeah, so there's been announcements of comic series leading up to it, a few different novels. So it should be interesting. Like, I'm definitely curious to see how relevant it's going to be to the actual park itself, and how the interactions with the park will tie into the book. I
think this is all like background stuff, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but they're like leading up building up like characters that are going to be there, places in Batu that will be there. I don't know. I think it's an interesting gimmick. Far be it for me to talk shit on Disney for knowing how to make some money.
Yeah. Well, let me shit on this too for just a second, if you will. Be so good.
You do it.
What I love so much about previous Star Wars endeavors was that you would have a movie, or you would have something that exists already, and then they would say, how can we make money off this? We've already created the thing, and so let's create novels or comics or toys to pay off the thing. In this particular case with Galaxy's Edge, they created the commercial thing before they actually are now creating books and novels and tie-ins to it. So this, rather than being an entertainment mainstream release and then you have the commercial side after it, this is leading with the commercial side of it. Like, we are creating a theme park for you to visit and spend insane amounts of money and time at. And so let's add in movies and comics and toys and stuff in order to build up interest into the thing that we've already created and yet no one has seen. So it's strange to me because with everything else, we've been able to experience the movies in order to buy into the entire idea of going to the Epcot Center and having a Star Wars experience.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, they built the experience and then said, hey, we need to create a reason for people to visit, so let's do a bunch of books and novel tie-ins. Like, it's backwards, and it's a pure money grab. And that's what bothers me so much
to be
about
fair,
it.
they've also got the 40 years previous to that.
But they don't, because they swept all of that under the table. And they said, we're going to create a whole
Millennium
new...
Falcon there, Adam. There's
the
a goddamn
one thing
Millennium Falcon
there is. Yeah. There's one ride that you're going to have to wait 8 hours to get into.
And you know who's going to be in that line fucking jerking off the whole time? This guy.
You can be sore by the end.
I'm going to be so fucking chafed and just spurting blood and dust. And then I'll be doing it again because I'll get right the fuck out and get back in line.
Gosh. I mean, it's like I don't mind wasting money and buying into commercialism if the premise exists already, but they're creating the money sink before the premise exists. So they're going backwards, and it's just a shameless plug that every single one of us Star Wars fans is going to buy into because we're fucking like addicts, as we've said so many times on the show before. And they're just shamelessly exploiting it. They're like, hey, it's heroin land, everyone. Let's all come to heroin land. Oh, yeah. Let's get some drug dealers on the street after we've built it to really sell the drug to you. Like, fuck, man. At least give us a taste first, and then we'll come back for more and ruin our entire lives. But fuck. I don't know. It's the way they're doing it that bothers me so much.
Fair.
I don't know.
Yep.
It really bugs me. Like I can't even pretend like it doesn't bother me. Like it's just a shameless cash grab in a way that would be shameful to even Lucas himself. Like he was like, fuck, I didn't even fucking do that. Like at least I created something first and then sold it to the masses. You're now creating something out of nothing and just being like, hey, come because it has the Star Wars name on it and no one has any idea about anything. Like we'll give you an Ithorian with a fucking droid on the cover of a comic series that doesn't exist yet, that the cover's not even final yet, and yet you're gonna buy into it and buy the fucking comic and buy the children's novels and come and stand in fucking line anyway, just because it has Star Wars on it, without having any understanding of the story behind it or why you want to do it, just because. Like. Fuck, are we such easily led automatons that it doesn't matter anymore? Like, we don't even need a tease? We just have to have the name and we're just, like, sold?
Yeah, that's kind of what happens with Star Wars fans.
Okay.
I hate to say it.
Okay. Damn it.
Yeah. Because, of course, it's all bullshit. It's dumb. But Disney knows they have us by the short and curlies, so what do you do? Either go with it or you get raped.
Yeah.
Like I'd prefer to be a partially consensual exchange.
Yeah. At least initially.
Yeah.
And so these are different covers of different, young adult, young, child novels, comics, ties in.
From my understanding, was only the Myths and Fables that was actually going to be the young adults novel. Black Spire and the Crash of Fate were supposed to be just like normal novels.
I'm struggling with this right now. This Myths and Fables one.
I don't give a shit.
This one bothers me more than any of them.
Come on, there's so many bad books out there that we still fucking read and have to force ourselves to enjoy. That it can't be that awful.
But that's all we had at the time, right? Like, okay, so Splinters of the Mind's Eye.
Giant fucking bookcase of shit, and I still went through the fucking Prophets of the Dark Side series.
But that's what I'm saying, is at the time, that's all you had. That was it. And it was considered canon until they later redacted parts of it. Or adjusted it. Like this, they're leading with, this is not canon. Like, this is not... we are not going to adhere to any of this. We're just writing something that a few kids may read because it has a Star Wars label on it. But other than that, we don't give a fuck. Like, that's what bothers me. Well, there might
be some cool characters in costume.
But none of it means anything. That's what bothers me so much. Everything that was written before Disney took over had at least the best of intentions to mean something. Yeah. Like, it was in the moment canon. Like, this all is 100% true. But now they're coming out with stories, and this is the second one that's saying, this is not true. We're just making shit up so that you buy it, you stupid fucks. And we're just like, let's buy it. It has Star Wars on it. Even though we know it doesn't. I can make fan fiction. I don't need Star Wars to make fan fiction and send it to me. Why are we paying for fan fiction now? Like, fuck.
I mean, Solo was pretty cool.
But it wasn't like, that was like legitimate.
That was a fucking fan film.
Oh, okay. It was an ode to the fans, but it's considered canon. Like, they come in saying,
canon.
This is...
But that's like the essence of a fucking Star Wars fan film with a budget.
Right, but it's all canon. They're not leading into it saying, this is all made up. It's not going to hold water. Watch it anyway. Like they are this book specifically. Like, they're like, no, this is literally myths and fables. None of this is real.
And to be fair, Adam, this is for the 12 to 15 demographic.
All of Star Wars is for 12 to 15 demo.
No, fuck them. They're not old enough to enjoy this shit.
Whether they are or not, like, that's what George said. Like, that is the demo. Like, his entire intention of Star Wars is a parable to help young adults understand the complexities of adulthood and learn to become adults. That's what Luke's entire journey is about, the hero's journey. You're a young, impressionable child that has to go through trials and tribulations. You gain wisdom, you come back to your people, and you deliver that wisdom. That is the entire premise of everything. And so, I don't know, I'm just looking way too deep into this, I guess, but it just bothers me, you know? Like, at least have the confidence as a brand holder to say, we are going to create a singular... They're doing it with Marvel. Why can't they do it with Star Wars? Like, how fucking hard can it be? Lucas did it for 40 fucking years. Disney is clearly capable, when you have a figurehead in place like Feige to run Marvel and doing it brilliantly. Why can't they do that with Star Wars? Like, any fan could do it. Fuck! Oh, okay. I didn't
Let's talk about something that won't make you angry.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm not trying to fucking derail this.
Let's talk about this next book. Brain pals.
Fuck!
I don't fucking care what you say. I'm excited. I actually really enjoyed Darth Vader and Son. It's fucking goofy. It's a child's book. It's a bunch of bright colors and just nonsensical fucking adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fun to me. It's like reading the Sunday funnies. That just so happens to be Star Wars influenced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gauging whether I should rant or not. I'm like, is it worth it?
Well, considering this is a young children's book, like little babies, you know, let's premise it with that. This is not for Adam.
Can we just talk about this scene right here? Here's what bothers me. Oh, dude, we're gonna go.
It's so great.
This is happening.
It's so stupid.
It's
like all of this came off with the idea of the dude, like the author / artist child, saying, "Hey, Daddy, draw me this," and now he's on his fucking 4th Star Wars book now, I think. That's brilliant. It's goofy little cartoons.
I can't hate on it. Like, you know, whatever. It's for kids. You know, have fun with it. My problem is that, again, Star Wars was always made for a specific age range. And so when you go under that or you try to go over it, you're missing the point of Star Wars. And so when you have these shorts, and ultimately we're going to run into some more like Galaxy Adventures conversations, that completely dumb down the complexities that is the hero's journey, which is at the core of what Star Wars is. You're missing what Star Wars is. You're completely missing the point of it all, which is, I think, why fans react so strongly to certain, you know, films or certain books or whatever. In the case of dumbing it down for little kids like this, I don't hate on it as much because it's not trying to be anything that it's not. You know, it's being honest for what it is. I'm just drawing pictures for kids. But you're playing into parables that are incredibly deep, and you're making a how to brush your teeth fucking cartoon out of it. Like, you know, there's a complexity of the dark side pulling Rey into it, this vortex, and trying to understand this complex idea of identity and sense of self-worth in this scene that ultimately, because the way it was written is pure, in my opinion, shit, leads nowhere. Unlike Luke's exact same journey in Dagobah of self-reflection. One has meaning and leads the story forward. Other has zero meaning and does zero for the story, in Rey's case. Let's play that off with a teeth brushing example. So kids literally have no idea what it's supposed to say, what it ends up saying, which is nothing, and then it pays that off by actually saying nothing. Like, maybe I'm just mad. I don't understand why this bothers me so much.
You're just angry today, Adam.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
You hurt my nipples. That's why. Yeah, Jenna is saying best way to feel worthy is to have clean teeth. Yeah, no, and I'm adamant that if you're ever going to engage with other human beings, you must have clean teeth. Like,
yes,
period.
Good oral hygiene is a must.
Hells yes. I got nothing to say. I'm not going to fucking go anymore. I do like the little cartoons. Like, they're fun.
They're fucking cute.
Yeah,
I mean, how
awesome.
can you hate that shit? It's exactly what it delivers, or it's exactly what it says it's going to deliver. Just goofy little cartoon versions of characters that we know. And of course, Rain Pals, it's all about the sequel trilogy characters, so it'll be fun. And Porgs.
Right, before we go, I gotta do one more thing. We never had a moment. Oh, dude. Okay, hold on a second. Just 1 second.
I'm excited to see where this is going.
Okay, first, surface stuff. I wish it would have had a Porg being roasted. Like, you know, Chewbacca, like, roasting the Porg. Like, that would have paid this entire cartoon off for me. But the fact that you're showing Snoke, who in The Force Awakens was alluded to being generationally omnipresent, incredibly forceful and powerful, and then totally bullshit in the next movie. He's represented here. Alongside characters that have proven themselves over 40 years for their contribution and meaning and sense of, authority in the Star Wars universe. You're taking what is ended up being a complete fucking joke and tying it in with characters of substance and putting them on equal ground. That's what bothers me, is that now Leia, instead of being the generationally motivating, ahead of her time, empowering figure for girls, they're saying, no, you also have this other fucking, I can't remember what her name is. The one who kissed Finn. What is her name? Rose. A mechanic who just wants to believe in people and believes in sacrifice or saving people, except that when Finn tries to save people, she stops him from doing so. You have someone, Leia Organa, who is a general and a princess who has had a lifetime of service for a singular idea of freedom and liberty and fairness and peace and justice in a galaxy that doesn't quantify peace or justice, on the same terms of someone who watched the rise and fall of the Empire and then gets cut in half by a fucking emo kid who is her son, coincidentally. You have a girl who was raised on a desert fucking planet, fighting for mere water and food substance that becomes better than Jedi master trained swordsmen because she feels the Force. But she's no one. You have a droid who is asleep.
You know what?
2 fucking movies!
You start talking shit on R2D2, I will punch you in your goddamn face.
That's where we have to stop it then, because I was about to.
R2D2 is fucking... He is the goddamn series, the saga.
He's the ultimate hero, yes.
He is!
But the sequel trilogy has made him into a fucking, like, a table stand. He has no meaning in this fucking sequel trilogy.
Well, it was sad. He was missing his homie. He was holding out for hope.
He was the total hero.
And then he got bored, so he's like, I'm going to take a nap.
Ugh. I feel like R2-D2 is genuinely one of the top 6 greatest characters in the entire
I'd put him in the
series.
top fucking 5.
Like he has genuinely saved them more than once of prequel and original trilogy. Mm-hmm. He is worthy of whatever praise anyone showers on him, and they treated him like garbage in this newest series. Like, you can't even argue that. He was just a sideline.
Not.
He was a fucking homage of a time with fucking Luke putting his hand on him, and
it was them saying, "Oh fuck, we almost forgot to put him in. Do it like this."
Okay, so this is a kid's book. I gotta stop. I gotta fucking stop. We're already a half an hour in, and we're not even past the second story. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right,
so, Galaxy Adventures has more episodes out.
Have you watched these?
I've watched a few. Yes,
Oh man,
it kills me because they're only like a minute or two shorts, but God, it's hard to watch because like you said, it just dumbs down crucial parts of the series to make it like little bite-sized snippets for nowadays kids. Like, they can't sit through a 2-hour fucking movie. They can only watch shit on a telephone for a minute or two at a time because that's all their attention span is good for.
Seems like it for sure.
So it's something.
Did you see this one that is on the screen? Luke facing Vader and Empire?
No.
It is. Okay, so all the shit I talked, I want to sweep that off the table just for a second. This is probably the best moment of any animation I've ever seen in my entire life. I was excited to see this.
I didn't want to watch it just because that's that's an important fucking scene.
It really is. It's the pivotal moment in the entire trilogy. Mm. But it was so good. Like, if you've never seen Star Wars and watched it, you would be like, oh, this is a weird cartoon, sort of anime almost styled fight. Like, what does this mean? But if you watched it already when it came out, and as a fan already understand the implications and meanings, and you can step away from all of that and just enjoy the flavor of really great animation, this is brilliantly animated. I was so excited and so incredibly pleased when I saw this, because again, these are sort of hit and miss for me. Some of them are really like dumbed down and stupid, overly it treats Star Wars as if it were biblical in nature. Like, we must have these stories to tell our children, and they literally create cards for parents to print out. That's the implication. It says print out and have a conversation with your kid with these bullet points that we presented in this cartoon. They're creating this weird religiosity around this, which the fans already did, but it's weird to see the corporate entity do it. They created this weird sense of importance to this cartoon series that's forced and that I really don't agree with. But every once in a while, they get an animation that is just brilliant. And the artists behind this, the storyboard artists, the animators, they're so good. The character animators, they're so good. And this single video is worth the entire series. It is so crazy. It made me want to see. It made me want to see the original trilogy in this style. That's how good it was.
Damn.
Oh, it is so goddamn good. And I mean, they had one that was Princess Leia. It was centered around Princess Leia. It was the latest one, I think, where it showed her original Death Star liberation scene, and it sort of restructured it, which bothered me. Like, they didn't pay homage to the original movie. They changed the original movie for the sake of the narrative they wanted to tell, which bothered me.
Yeah, that's not right.
This particular one didn't do that. It stayed pretty much true, but it presented it in a more modern way. So instead of Vader just sort of doing a wrist turn and then, objects flying at Luke, I mean, he had like animation and motion, which it was paid off in this style. It was so good. Oh man.
Fucking A.
If we wouldn't get banned, I would show the video right now.
Yeah, so fucking stupid.
That good. But, I can't hate these as an adult as a kid's first entry, I think they're going to do more of a disservice because it's going to present Star Wars in this exciting, cartoony, fast-paced, flashy lights way, and then they're going to watch the original trilogy and be like, this sucks, dude. Because the original trilogy was not flashy. It gave you time for character development and exploration. It gave pauses in order to appreciate a scene. Animation doesn't do that. And so I know it seems like their hearts are in the right place, the intention is in the right place, but ultimately it is a mass disservice to what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
In my unbiased opinion.
And, I mean, to go in with that, I mean, part of the reason why we're doing these, or why they are doing these, rather, is for the fucking toys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, straight up.
Brings us to the next point.
And we're going to talk about that.
The fucking toys that come with the actual comic strips. We've already talked about them. They did announce a few more characters. We've got Rey, we've got Kylo Ren, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Maul, General Grievous, which looks fucking dope, and then Boba Fett, because you always need more Boba Fett stuff.
Grievous looks just fantastic.
Yeah.
So
it's
cool. We got to get together and do that original Clone Wars review.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, man. Because that's when Grievous was badass.
Yeah, and I'm going to go into it raw completely.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed because
I've never watched them.
What?
I have them. I've just never watched them.
Oh, man. I can't wait. I cannot wait. You're probably not going to like him, which is going to suck. But I was excited.
Dude, I'm the one that's singing the praises about Darth Vader and Son.
That's true. That's true. I mean, knowing you as a Star Wars fan, you're going to love it. Of course, you're going to love it. But I love that Disney is seeming to do a sort of two-handed approach on Boba Fett. On one hand, they're like, we want to pay service to the fans who have always loved him. But then we want to present him as being the failure of a bounty hunter that he realistically is. Yeah. Like, he's the biggest dope of a bounty hunter in practical exercise on screen. But more than that, there's a rumor that he's going to somehow be presented in The Mandalorian. And he's going to be presented as not a Mandalorian. So I don't know if it's like a side comment reference that they're speaking to. Like, someone's going to say, like, oh, you're like Boba Fett. And it's going to be like, Boba Fett wasn't a real Mandalorian.
Well, and they've already done that shit in the cartoons and stuff. So, I mean, that's
right, but not really ever in the the movies. Like, this is like TV, this is like HBO quality that they're presenting The Mandalorian as
that's
2B.
True.
So this is going to be presented for the first time for a lot of Star Wars fans, that idea is going to be explained. Because let's be fair, there's Star Wars fans like us, again, heroin addicts, and then there's Star Wars fans that only go see the movies and don't really think about it. They're just like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't mind the Marvel jokiness of The Last Jedi. It was very Disney, and that's what I'm fine seeing that. And then there's those of us that are like, yeah, but that's not really Star Wars humor. Like, Star Wars humor is Luke almost getting choked to death by Chewbacca for trying to put fisticuffs on him to fucking pay off a fucking movement. Or Chewbacca screaming at a mouse droid and the mouse droid running away. Like, that's our humor.
Yeah, exactly. It's dry, not on the nose.
Not fucking jerky boys on a fucking Star Destroyer. Like, that's next level shit.
Oh, that is... So I've come to terms with that fucking movie. I still cannot handle that shit. I get it. It goes perfectly with the rest of the movie. But
I can't watch it. I've bought it and I cannot watch it. I've tried to sit through it and I can't fucking do it. That's how much it bothers me.
Same here. Like, I still have it in wrapping paper from when I went and bought it the day it was released.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right, what are we talking about again? Cartoons?
Yeah, so let's well, I mean, yeah, we had some shit for Star Wars Celebration Chicago, but yeah, fuck everybody gets to go to that. They're all special and fancy and millionaires apparently. So let's talk rumors.
Okay, you don't want to go any. Okay, so let's just feed.
Well, okay, we can. Let's do a quick list. We got Peter Mayhew. If you don't know who he is, you're a twat. Donald Faison, he's fucking awesome. Jason
sorts of
Isaacs,
people.
Vanessa Marshall, Mirren Valesco, Michael Pennington, Tom fucking Kane, which I'm like, I'd love to meet Tom Kane. Just plain and simple, he's dope. I got not a bad thing to say about him. Catherine Tabor, D. Bradley Baker, Tamura Morrison, which my wife is funny, didn't realize he was an Islander when we went and saw Aquaman. I had to explain
really?
to her that he's Maori.
Oh, shit.
She's like, no, he's not an Islander. Like, yeah, he fucking is. Okay, and then we got Ahsoka Tano, Daniel Logan, or sorry,
It's funny
Ashley
you say
Eckstein.
Ahsoka Tano.
Whatever.
Ashley
That's who he
Eckstein.
is. It's fucking Ahsoka Tano, Daniel
Sure.
Logan, Jet Lewis, Ken Leung, blah 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 blah. Lots of people that none of us are going to see because we have real responsibilities and can't afford to go to Chicago. And
Well, and then here's the thing: like, they sold out less than a month after they were announced for almost all of the tickets. Like, they had single day passes available, but all 5 day passes were sold out super quick.
Yeah,
and they're
usually
thousands of dollars. I mean,
yeah, usually it's within minutes.
I
I know there was one point. I think it was the last, or no, it wasn't the last, but it was the one before the last Celebration Anaheim or California, wherever the fuck it was. I was gonna go to, and I was gonna get the Super Sith package, and yeah, minutes. Like, my computer started to lag out, and by the time I got able to get back onto the website, fucking sold out.
Jeez,
it was a matter of minutes. That's why I never went.
Crazy. It's just
yeah.
And I get it. Like, fans want to be around it, and we love the series and we love the brand and everything, but like, it's one thing to pay fan service, and it's the other to take advantage of the fans.
Well, they treat you pretty well while you're there.
Do they? Thousands
Oh, yeah.
of dollars?
Bunch of parties, all kinds of cool shit.
Well, good on them.
I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit of rumor.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay, so the latest rumor that came out, again, rumors, everyone. This may be spoilers. It's probably not. Is that there's a greater threat for Episode 9 than the First Order, and that it's coming out of the Outer Rim. And this is something that was suggested in the Aftermath novels. Emperor Palpatine was just obsessed with the dark side power that we all suspected was Snoke, and then was fucked by The Last Jedi in that storyline. And so JJ is going back to the original idea that, yes, there is some sort of force out there, and the Knights of Ren were sent out by Kylo Ren to find this entity, and they're coming back with the entity, and it's going to be such a powerful dark force figure that's going to try to overwhelm everything, and it's going to force Kylo Ren and Rey to team up in order to defeat it. And so the premise of this rumor is that Episode 9 will be about the balance of the Force. Dark and light have to team up. The old trope that you see in every He-Man and G.I. Joe cartoon back in the 80s and Saturday morning cartoons of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We have to team up to fight this greater enemy, and then we're bad guys again. That seems to be the storyline. Would that idea be too cheap for you, or do you think that would actually work?
See, that's a tough one. Because, I mean, really, with how The Last Jedi went, like, nothing would really surprise me at this point. I mean, I could buy it. I could, especially with JJ at the helm. Like, I'm sure it'll be at least on par with The Force Awakens. So, as long as we don't have Force Ghost fights, then I'll be happy.
Dude, I don't know. Well, here's the problem with that, is that we already know that Yoda, he sort of pushed the boundaries of Force Ghost in The Last Jedi. So pretty much anything is open, like, at this point. Like, you can do anything. The problem is I love Luke Skywalker so much. I want to see him, but if he's a Force Ghost, then we know that he's going to be limited. And we know he's going to be in the movie. And so he has to be a Force Ghost. So we know he has to be limited.
Or it could be flashbacks.
I would love that so much.
That's.
But do they have time in a 2.5 hour movie to do that?
Probably. Okay, if they set it up like they did Return, like, if you look at Return, it's not really that long of a movie, but there is so much fucking story in that. Like, and none of it feels rushed. Like, if they could keep that dynamic, I could see it being possible. But at the same time, it's also closing out the entire saga.
Right. That's
so it's like, I almost wonder if they're going to do like a fucking Deathly Hallows thing, where it's like at the very, end of the credits rolling, it says Part 2 coming next year.
Right. I'd be okay with that, to be honest.
Yeah, same here.
My big problem with this is that the prequel and the original trilogy was a complete package. Mm-hmm. So you add on a sequel trilogy, you have to pay that off by paying homage to the point of the prequel and the original trilogy, which means the prophecy and the redemption, the fulfillment of that prophecy. That's ultimately what those movies were about. Mm-hmm. We latch onto the Skywalker bloodline, but ultimately is just about that prophecy. So you have to explain why these last 3 movies in the sequel trilogy have anything to tie into that prophecy. And so far, they haven't addressed it at all in any way. And so how are you going to tie that in? And so if you just have another threat that is a dark side entity coming in from the outer realm, or whatever the storyline is, if it doesn't tie into the point of the original and the prequel trilogy, why the fuck is it called a sequel trilogy? Why the fuck is it, 7, 8, and 9 in the first place? Like, there's no reason. So ultimately, I think it's an impossible task. If no matter what JJ does, he's going to be trying his best to pay homage to what came before, but it will ultimately fall flat because there's no possible way unless you steep the entire movie into the Force as a centered contextual storyline. Like, the Force has to be the center storyline. If it's anything else, then it means nothing and it doesn't tie into it because the entire point of everything was the Force. Mm-hmm. And especially when you start with a movie called The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
You're setting it up as the dark side exists in the form of the First Order via Snoke and Ben. Snoke is trying to turn Ben against the light side of the Force using his grandfather as a tool. Kylo is trying to service that dream by obsessing over his grandpa, murdering his father, doing his best to turn to the dark side, but being pulled to the light the entire time. And then you have this equally light side, chosen one type character coming out of nowhere, literally in the form of Jakku Desert, abandoned, proven to be no one in the second movie, has no purpose, has no meaning, is ultimately at the end of the second movie, given the presence of being the future of a Jedi Order that the entire second movie was based around destroying, which, weird.
Yeah.
So the third movie is about the Jedi Order going back to its roots, which means not combative, and yet you have a First Order that's more powerful than ever, defeating the entire New Republic and Resistance and still being a threat.
Yeah, but are they still really like the biggest threat in the galaxy? I mean, the fucking flagship was destroyed.
And so here's the other part of the some other rumors that are out there is that the First Order, that was just one contingency of the First Order. They have little outposts all over the galaxy. And this, I think, is going to be paid off by the Resistance cartoon that they already spoke to. There's a bunch of different contingents all around. They need that Colossus station as a refuel station for all these different contingencies in the Outer Rim, and that's why, is because only one of them presented themselves in The Last Jedi and in The Force Awakens, so that's how they have a continual presence. I just don't know how you're going to pay that off. If you have it, like, let's speculate for just a second. What would that dark side presence have to be in order to make sense with the original and prequel trilogy storyline to pay off the sequel trilogy?
See, that's a hard one because it's like, especially if we're going with how everything has been up until now, it's just going to be a new, bigger, better guy. Just like the Death Star was always bigger and better each fucking movie. Like, personally, I think it would be a species, or maybe even, a celestial. Like, there was one that we didn't know about, and hey, that's what the fucking dark side, that's the dark side being that was beckoning Palpatine the whole time.
Right.
But I think that would almost be too much of a stretch. Like, unless you watched all the cartoons, that would just be sort of like out of left field. Like, what the fuck? Now there's gods in this?
Well, especially when we're talking about, we just spoke about the two different kinds of fans, us, and then there's just the movie fans. Like, you have to make it palatable to a movie fan.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's a fucking, maybe the Sith are back, like purebloods.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But, I mean, I don't know.
But how does that pay? Like, this is my big problem with all of this, is it has to pay into the prophecy. Like, because that was the sole thread that connected 6 previous movies, and it seems like it was started to connect to the sequel trilogy, equaling the 9 total movies. If they don't tap into that, there's really no reason for the sequel trilogy. So they have, in my opinion, they have to.
Yeah, I mean, unless Rey becomes the new Empress, I don't know.
Right. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because, I mean, really that would be the only thing that I can imagine. But instead of being the uniter of the galaxy under, power and fear and all that shit, she's like, a good guy type of... I don't fucking know where I was going with this, but I don't know. It's a tall fucking order. Like,
here's what I would like.
If there's much of an end game.
I would like... What if the original prophecy was just a smaller piece of a larger prophecy? That would, in my opinion, pay off the first 6 movies being a complete set. And then, that was Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker bringing balance to the light and dark, but that's not creating balance for the Force. To create balance for the Force, you have to have whatever's coming in 9 happen. And so that, I think, would feel at least a little bit better. That was a part of the prophecy, but not the entirety of the prophecy. This is the last part of the prophecy. I don't know how you pay that off. I don't forget.
Well, and especially not having it set up in the first film.
Right.
Because, I mean, that's how it always was. Like, the first film in each trilogy, it sets up the whole, like, the entirety of the trilogy. Whereas with The Force Awakens, none of that had any bearing really on The Last Jedi, even though it starts literally at the end of The Force Awakens. So I don't know where it's gonna go.
It's a tall order, I don't envy any of the writers, and they've already done reshoots, and that's the thing. Like, they've already adjusted the script.
Reshoots aren't a bad thing. That's what.
No, I agree.
Budget. So, like, when people throw a fit over reshoots, it's like, duh, why the fuck wouldn't they do that? It could have been simple as the lighting was shit. But
and I'm not disparaging the idea of reshoots. I'm just saying that they've already, like, done script rewrites and added on scenes, changing presumably that's the rumors, changing fundamentally the story from one thing to a much more broader thing.
Gotcha.
Which leads you to, like, here's the craziness. There's rumors that Endgame, Marvel's Avengers film franchise, is going to be like 3 hours or something like that.
Oh, unsurprising.
Unprecedented length as far as a non-intermission based movie. Like, that is insanely long. Something like Star Wars Episode 9, in order to pay off 6 movies previous and explaining the 2 seemingly contrasting films that exists in this last final 9th film, I feel like you need the 3 hours. Do you think it'll be close to a 3-hour time mark?
I hope so. I really do. Like, I could do it very easily. Like, I don't know.
What if
I don't fucking know.
What if they do the flashbacks in order to explain Snoke away? Like, here's the big deal. You set Snoke up in the novel and in the movie as this so incredibly powerful entity, and then he's just sort of like hand swiped away in the second one. You have to explain why he was so known. Everyone knew about him. Luke, Leia, the Senate, the New Republic, the Old Republic.
Well,
like,
especially like they haven't given us anything. Like even in the novels, like the novelizations of the films, they give us teasers, bigger monologues of his to to show how brooding and how ever present he was. But really, that's all we've got. We have nothing. And with the final film coming out, we still have nothing. So there better be something in this fucking movie, because I honestly think if it's after the fact, like, it's not going to matter as much. I mean, of course, there's examples where it wasn't it was fine. Like if you look at the Darth Plagueis novel, I mean, that's what, 10 fucking plus years after the movie, when it was just like a quick mention and then it comes out and it's a big deal. But I don't think Snoke has that kind of draw necessarily to warrant having a novel come out way after the fact.
That's why, like, I would believe it if he was a conduit for this other entity. Like, that would help explain why he had such control of the dark side, why he had such power. If he was just tapping into whatever new threat is coming in from the outer darkness, the Emperor Palpatine.
Well, and what if he was an avatar?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
That was it. I mean, that would make sense as to why he just got cut in half.
Yeah.
Because, he's just like a fucking pawn. You get rid of those anyways.
That would be really interesting to me. Because then you can play into the idea of the complexity of the Force is not just light and dark. This other entity is using it as self-interest. They're just trying to seize a sort of moment in the galaxy and using that moment to take control. When, someone like Emperor Palpatine, he broke away from the Sith tradition in a way that he never saw Vader as a possible successor. He used him, and he created other ways of getting around him. He created contingencies to punish his subjects if he died. Like he did everything he could to maintain sole power and authority over the entire galaxy, and successfully for a very long time. Brilliantly so. And
well, even post-mortem.
In order to have another entity that he looked up to, like, you have to go to a broad spectrum to do that, like, especially after it's already been set up in novels, supposedly canon novels.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. I don't know how they're going to do it. I think the only way to do it is to do the what you mentioned earlier was the flashback, where you show Luke Skywalker interacting with Snoke, and you show this, not show, but suggest this greater force being behind Snoke. And that's how he was so fortunate to have stepped into the right place and time to take control of the First Order, and how he was able to witness the rise and fall of the Empire, and to use Ben and corrupt his mind in the womb. Like, that's some shit that was explained in Bloodline that was never explored since. So, I mean, there's all sorts of crazy stuff that I want some answers to, like, as a fan. We need it. We deserve it. We put the money in. We put the time in.
Exactly.
Like, fuck.
We've sucked your dick enough. Give us something, god damn it.
It's true. It's true. It's salty. It's so briny.
It is. I mean, you do what you got to do. But
I got nothing else. What do you got? Anything?
I fucking think that's pretty good. We're right at the hour mark, so
oh my gosh,
we can call it. This has been the most depressing episode of HoloNetNews. Thanks for sticking it out with us.
It is darkest before the dawn.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Jenna's saying, wasn't Fellowship of the Ring almost 4 hours? I could go for an extended cut.
The extended cut. Oh my god.
That would be brilliant.
Can you imagine if there were extended cuts?
Like, if I had a 4-hour Star Wars movie, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
That'd be the best.
I'd fucking eat up every goddamn second of it.
Especially if Luke was in it. Oh, yeah. Flashback young Luke. Oh my gosh.
Like, if they do an extended cut of The Last Jedi where it's actually palatable.
Oh my gosh, I would love that. I mean, they have like dozens of minutes of footage that they never use that they're going to be referencing for the Leia scenes anyway, for this new movie. which is weird. We haven't gotten a title for yet. Just saying.
Yeah, especially because we're sitting at, 12 months or 10 months.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty bizarre. Because my understanding was it was going to be announced during like Super Bowl. Like, because that's been about the time they usually start throwing out the teasers.
Yeah.
So
I think Disney is trying to leverage a balance between their Marvel entities and their Star Wars entities and trying not to overshadow one or the other.
Smart, because that's what fucked Solo. Like, that's really the only reason why Solo wasn't as widely appreciated.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the fucking Avengers, pretty much.
Didn't have enough time to... We need space.
Yeah, we do. Because, they're huge temples. Like, that's the kind of shit where you buy the shirts, you buy the cups, you buy the popcorn tins. But you're not going to go every fucking week and spend $80 to watch a fucking movie.
Right.
So, I should have made it a
I want a title. I want a hint
I do.
as
I'm
to what
fucking
it's
dying
about.
for it.
Oh, I just want to know.
Don't want to see a trailer or anything, because goddamn it, I hate watching those. But I want to fucking name.
I do. I love them.
I don't, especially because it's Disney. Like, they're so notorious.
And I'm going to text you like, "Holy shit, have you seen this?"
No, I know, and that's what's going to make me watch it, because we're going to talk for like an hour, and you're like, "Oh, just do it. It doesn't give anything away." Like, inevitably, that's what happens.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this HoloNet News edition. We appreciate your attention and, of course, your shared love of Star Wars. You can always give us your I am a Scruffy Looking Nerf Herder videos by recording them and either emailing them to theinfernalbrotherhood@gmail.com or sending them via our Google Voice account to 1-801-899-6168. You can always just do audio if you don't want to do video as well. Our traditional show is coming up in 2 more weeks. It's always the 4th week of the month, so we're looking forward to that. And I don't know, is there anything else?
I think that's about it.
All right, well, everyone, thank you. May the Force be with you.
Now, this is pod racing.
Princess Mimi.